YouTube Nation. Me man, Mr. B, and want to get a quick talk about Penn Relays. Want to get a feedback from you guys out there. Want to think about Penn Relays. Now, this year marks the 127th running of the Penn Relays, and of course, it marks just about 60 years, 58 years to be exact, or 59 years to be exact, since Jamaican school teams have been participating at Penn Relays. Now, we started out in 1964, if I remember correctly. It was Herb McKinley who invited the coach of Excelsior at the time, I think his name was Donovan Davis, to try to take a team to Penn Relays. And of course, what Davis did, Davis, I think, coached Excelsior at the time, and he invited the KC athletes to make the trip in that 1964 year. If my history is correct, I think some of the members of that team would have been Rupert Hoylett, Tony Keys, Lennox Miller, just to name a few, right? But that's not the point that I want to make. The fact is that in that year, the Jamaicans demonstrated their dominance, and of course, that dominance has continued to this date. Now, coming out of that 1964 year, the Jamaicans in the diaspora recognized the brilliance of these high school athletes, and over the years, the audience capacity from the diaspora has just grown. This year, as we said, the 127th year, some 400 athletes from high schools in Jamaica made the trip to Franklin Field in Pennsylvania. And of course, if you add to that, I would say a minimum of another 150 officials, coaches, and so on from these schools, we would have just about 550 to 600 Jamaican schoolers and coaches at Pennsylvania, at Franklin Field in Pennsylvania. Now, in the early days of Jamaica's athletics program, Penn Relays served us very, very well. In fact, it provided an opportunity for college coaches to look at Jamaican athletes. And of course, a lot of these athletes would pick up scholarships over the years to attend colleges overseas to not only expand their education, but it also contributed to the development of Jamaica's athletics from that junior level. In the years subsequent to that, though, a lot has changed. Today, Jamaica maintains a significant dominance. In fact, Jamaica is by far the greatest track team coming out of the Americas. And by the Americas, I'm talking the entire Caribbean and Central and South America, and even parts of North America. Jamaica dominates track athletics in that sphere, to the extent that today Jamaica now plays hosts to its own athletes. We don't necessarily have to be having athletes going overseas to get the kind of training that would prepare them for competition on the bigger stage. We have done that. In the last 20, 30 years, Jamaica has been significantly dominant, particularly over the last 20 years. And of course, the focus of attention is now on Jamaica. And it sort of begs the question, what now is the value of Penn Relays to Jamaican high school athletes? The fact is, hardly any coaches go to Penn Relays now to try to find athletic talent. Jamaica's program is so big that once the track season rolls out at the beginning of this school year, the scouts and coaches from all over the world is in Jamaica, going to the development meets. They go to They're not even waiting until champs, because by the time champs come around, most of these schools who are looking for athletes, they would have find them already. So again, sort of makes one wonder as to the validity at this point of Penn Relays. Now, again, let me make it clear: Penn Relays served us well, but in the course of Penn Relays serving the Jamaican athletic program well in the early years, especially between that 1964 period up to, I would say, about the 1990s. Um, One of the things that I think most people who are following track and field and following Penn Relays may not know is that the University of Pennsylvania that hosts this track meet has never offered a Jamaican athlete a scholarship to attend the University of Pennsylvania coming out of the Penn Relays. I think if even if students end up attending the University of Pennsylvania, that would be largely an academic scholarship, but not a track scholarship. And again, remember, these coaches and scouts and so on are not, if you have to wait until Penn Relays to try to find talent, it means that it's dregs you're going to pick up, because the program in Jamaica is that big that the athletes are being gobbled up where they are available to depart the shores. And again, to this year, we're seeing a lot of transformation because a lot of these better high school athletes are going pro. So it begs the question again: the the validity and the significance to Jamaica and Jamaican high school athletes of Penn Relays. Something else to keep in mind: the the Franklin Field and community benefits significantly from the crowds. In fact, more than 60% of the audience that watches this meet live at the field are Jamaicans, are members, Jamaicans out of the diaspora. And so these are Jamaicans who are paying, let's say we're paying $25, $30 a head. And on the final day of competition at Penn Relays, generally you have easily over 60,000 people who turn up. And you know, it is the Jamaicans who have pulled this audience into Franklin Field, the Franklin Field community, both in terms of hotels, restaurants, etc. The Uber, taxis, whatever, are significant beneficiaries. Um, Penn Relays would cost the Jamaican contingent, that 550 Jamaicans, that trip to Penn Relays would cost these schoolers an estimated 800,000 US dollars to have these athletes attend Penn Relays. And 800,000 US dollars, do the maths, you're looking at over 140 million Jamaican dollars, and so one have to ask the question as to, is this a good investment at this stage? Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we that Penn Relays never had a value. What I'm looking at now is that value still worth it? And could we, because Jamaica is such a dominant force in track and field, couldn't we develop a kind of athletic carnival, or even expand the existing Gibson Relays from 1 day to a 2 or 3 day carnival, where we try to pull that kind of traffic into Jamaica, where the island and in particular the city of Kingston could benefit from that kind of money? Because we're talking about, we could save ourselves a good million US dollars in terms of cash outflows, and of course we could generate millions of dollars of revenue if we turn the thing inwards. I believe that the time has come where we should be looking at taking full advantage of the opportunities that are available to us. Our youngsters are without doubt in demand, and the same athletes who would want to go to Penn Relays from in and around the United States. Those athletes too, why can't we extend the facility for them to come to Jamaica to attend a relay carnival of that nature? We do Carifta games, which is shifted every year around the place. Why don't we set, rejigger the Gibson relays, because it's on the program or it's on the calendar. It may be difficult to get a new track program in. Well, let's move Gibson relays and put it into the space where we would have that pen relating, and I can guarantee you that we would be able to benefit economically, because instead of having this net drain, what we want to do is to see how we can use athletics and generate some good revenues, some tourist revenues, and good, vendor revenues for our space. Because if Jamaicans don't go to Penn Relays one year, it's two men and a dog going to end up in that Franklin Field Stadium at Pennsylvania. It is the Jamaican athletes who are going there to who pull that crowd. And so without them, what happened? Remember, Pennsylvania thing with it, I think Team Jamaica Bickle provides, food and so on, and refreshments for these teams. Of course, people like Grace Kennedy have become a major sponsor. I am just looking at some opportunities here that we may just be missing. We don't have to be doing the same thing over and over and over again. You really want to take a look at the cost benefit analysis and see if we can bring this thing backwards, where we can generate the income and the revenues back in Jamaica. We need the money instead of us thing. We long past the days where we look to send a youth to Penn Relays because him and him coach are like a trip for go foreign. We can look at that in a different way. I mean, I'm saying that is not important, but that is not the most important thing. And right now, for our Jamaican high school athletes, to a large extent, this is what it has now come down to, because Penn Relays is no longer a relay carnival that is providing the kind of exposure. Most of these coaches who are looking for athletes for colleges and universities in America, them start to do that search long before Penn Relays done. So them know by the time Penn Relays run, them don't have the complement of athletes what them need already. So that is not the objective. I'm just throwing it out there. Let me hear what you guys think about what me think. I believe that, it's time where we start to look at utilizing the strengths we have. Jamaica is an athletics powerhouse, and nothing is more attractive than these youngsters. We see what happens when you go to Champs. We see the results at Gibson Relays, and that is just the athletes competing among and against themselves at the Jamaica level. Can we now get these athletes from the Caribbean who are running at Carifta to give them some bigger competition by having a relay carnival in Jamaica of the order of Penn Relays? And then if Penn Relays want Jamaican athletes come, make them pay for the athletes them come do the meet, because we don't get no other benefit. It make no sense that we spend money and we don't really see the kind of benefits that we used to get in the past, which we don't need anymore. I just believe that we need to take a second look. Let me hear what you think. If you like the video, hit the like button. Give me your feedback in the comment section. I know say there's a strong talk me make, and Wooly Pamano will come and want to cut me throat because you try deprive the youth them for go foreign. But can we afford to spend $1 million every year just to give people a little joyride on a airplane? Let me hear what you think. And me say, man, it's a respect.